There are so many AI tools, it's super overwhelming. So in this video, I'm gonna give you a tier list of the tools that I have used in the last 3 years since ChatGPT came out. And by the end of this, you will have a better idea on what's in the AI landscape, which tools are worth paying attention to and which ones not so much. First, we're gonna talk about large language models and their platforms, then AI automation tools, and then some other AI tools, and I'll leave Claude Code and Cowork to the end. And to be super clear, this is for non-technical entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners who want to use AI in your businesses and you don't really know what's the right tool to use. I'm going to explain everything. This is not for developers who are building AI apps and not for AI automation agency owners. So let's start with ChatGPT. I think this is a B tier, maybe. Let's see if I change my opinion by the end of this. But I think ChatGPT is a solid tool. So B tier means it's like average, it's a good one. This is what started the whole revolution, but it is a little bit harder to work with and harder to integrate into systems compared to Claude. And I will explain that in a second. ChatGPT does have some cool features, but I don't think that if you're a business owner, that's the best tool to use. I'm gonna put Claude in and of itself into an A tier. So here I'm thinking of the Claude chat interface where you can use projects, you can make artifacts, you can have skills, and I'm not yet thinking about Claude Code and Cowork. For this tier list, I will treat those as two separate AI tools. So I think Claude is a really, really good model and interface. I personally like its style on how it writes and how it helps me think through problems, but it also has drawbacks, hallucinations. It can still lead you down in a road where it's just validating whatever you are saying. So if you ask your questions in a slightly biased way, it will start to agree with you and lead you down a path that is probably not what a good business coach would do. So be careful there. I'm also thinking putting Gemini into B tier. The models are pretty good, but how well you can integrate it into your business and how well you can use it for your business in an organized way, it's still very manual. You have to keep organizing your prompts in document libraries, folders, and so on. So it's not the best tool for business use. But if you're just using it for a quick chat back and forth and you already maybe pay for Google Workspace, then you probably don't really need the ChatGPT subscription. Gemini is really good. One thing I would highlight about Gemini, and maybe I'm considering moving it towards A tier, is Nano Banana, and especially Nano Banana Pro if you have the Google Workspace subscription. That is really a really good one. But ChatGPT also has image gen, so I would say these two are still good B tier models. I'm not that big of a fan of AI image generation because it's still a lot of slop, but if you use it the right way, it can still help your business, especially if you work with a lot of images. Perplexity, I'm gonna give it C tier. Perplexity is not its own AI, it's just a wrapper around the GPT, Gemini, and Claude models and some other open source models as well. It is really well trained for doing research and it's a good interface for that, for like browsing, but I don't really see how it would be superior than already having a Claude or a ChatGPT or Gemini subscription and then just asking it to do the research for you and browse the web and give you proper quotations. So I'm not a big fan of Perplexity. And when I wanted to put Grok on the tier list, I realized we didn't have an F tier. It definitely belongs there. It's pretty bad. I'm not even gonna get started on the stuff that is happening there. XAI still has a long way to go for me to even start considering Grok. And just to be fair with ChatGPT, I'm gonna bring in custom GPTs. This is just an image of one that I took a screenshot of, because there is no official logo for custom GPTs. But I would say a well-configured custom GPT is an A tier tool. So to be fair, I should probably move ChatGPT here as well. But knowing how few people actually know that custom GPTs even exist inside ChatGPT and how you can configure them, I'm gonna keep these two as almost separate tools. It takes a while to properly configure a custom GPT, and I still think that having good Claude skills are far superior than having good custom GPTs. So that's why Claude in and of itself is A tier, whereas from ChatGPT, only custom GPTs are what I consider A tier, and then ChatGPT itself is B tier. Now, obviously, as new models come out, this tier list will probably shuffle around. This is just my opinion right now. Now, let's look at the automation platforms Make, N8N, and Zapier. These are not specifically AI tools, but they allow you to connect AI into your systems. So for example, if there's a new form submission on your website, you can use Make, Zapier, or N8N to send that data to an AI to process it and then populate your CRM or send a response email and so on. There's like so many really good workflows you can build with Make, N8N, and Zapier. So that's why they're here. For non-technical people, I will put Make into A tier. It has a really good visual interface that is learnable. It's not easy, especially if you get into deeper and more complex automations, but it is something that even a non-technical person can learn about. So the learning curve is a little bit steep, but in a few hours you can get up to speed. And once you have that, it is a really, really good automation tool. Compared to that, a lot of people are big fans of N8N. I am not, because it is way more technical than Make. And I work a lot with non-technical entrepreneurs. So whenever they see N8N and the technical interface that it sometimes has to define the variables, that's where I lose people. Make also has slightly more integrations, and now Make has also launched AI agents, which is a great step up for them in terms of catching up to N8N, because N8N was really good with AI agents, but now as Make also has AI agents built in, I think now Make has the upper ground. Zapier I will put into C tier. Their pricing is a lot more expensive than either of these two tools. It has a lot of integrations, but the interface and how you build the zaps, which is what they call their automation, is just hard to modify. So if you once you have a workflow in Zapier, it's a lot more challenging to add things and move things around. And the way you have to define things, it is obvious that is a very non-technical tool. And I think it is now at a point where it's too dumb to actually be able to create good AI automations with Zapier. So if you have just 2 or 3 step workflows and you don't even want AI, then Zapier is probably good for you. If you want AI in your workflows, Make and N8N are probably better choices. Now let's talk about a few AI tools that I currently use in my business. The first one is Wisprflow. Wisprflow is absolutely S tier, and all of these voice dictation keyboards, basically, what they allow you to do is you can open any input field and you can just dictate whatever you want. So from a functionality perspective, Wisprflow and all of these other dictation tools are amazing for helping you work faster, especially if you are a solopreneur working from home. If you live in a noisy office, it would probably bother people if you constantly gave voice instructions to an AI or you used voice in your Slack chat. But I found that whenever I use Wisprflow to tell my AI something in a prompt, I tend to be a lot more articulative with what I'm actually looking for and what I want, and I give more context, which actually makes my AIs perform better. So that is why that's an S tier tool. Sembly is my note-taking AI agent, which comes to all of my Zoom meetings and transcribes everything. So I will put it into A tier. It also connects with a lot of tools like Notion, Basecamp, Asana, ClickUp, and so on. So it can actually create action items based on the meeting transcript and even assign that to people. It does make mistakes when it comes to identifying what are the tasks. So I do recommend that you set up a staging database where Sembly just puts the tasks in, and then a human who was there at the meeting just reviews the tasks, and then another automation puts all of those into your actual database. It does have some flaws. All of these note-taking AI agents do, so that is why it's not an ST, but it's definitely a big time saver, especially if you have a lot of meetings. Next up, we have Superhuman, which is the email client that I use. It's not necessarily an AI tool, but it does have some AI features. And I will say that I'm thinking between A and B tier. Honestly, I will put it into A tier because the pre-made AI replies when it comes to getting back to an email quickly are very good. When I first installed it, it went through my emails and it learned my voice really well. So whenever I have to write an email and I use the write with AI and I just say what I want, it gives me really good responses. But I tend to be really short with my emails. Whenever I say something, I just say what I mean, and I don't really use the AI features as much as I could, simply because I found that it takes me just as much time to write an AI prompt on what I want to say to just saying it and then sending the email. But if you work in maybe a little bit of a corporate world where your emails have to be highly polished and so on, then it can probably also save you a lot of time. It's not an AI agent that automatically processes your invoice and sends emails on your behalf. And if you want to know why that's a bad idea, just click on the top of the YouTube video here, and that will bring you to my other video about AI agent security when it comes to emails. Last tool before we get into Claude Code and Cowork is Midjourney, which I used to use, but I don't really use it anymore. I will put it into C tier. I know that there are people who make a lot of money having automated AI slop generator accounts and automations. For my use cases, I just don't use it because the Gemini subscription that I already have is good enough for me to generate the occasional like 5 images per month that I have to generate. It can probably be customized a lot more than how far I've got, but my opinion is that if you already have a Google Workspace or Gemini subscription or a ChatGPT subscription, you probably don't need Midjourney because both of these can generate images for you. If you don't use ChatGPT or Gemini, then you can still have access to image generation and Nano Banana through the API. So you can then just pay per images generated instead of having a Midjourney monthly subscription. The next ones are Claude Code and Claude Cowork. These are both agents that operate your computer and allow you to get more work done. You can work with your files. And I'm going to say that Claude Code is definitely an S tier tool for non-technical knowledge work. The amount of things that you can do with it is just simply amazing. You can build a lot of agentic workflows where Claude Code does things the same way, but you can also create brand new projects from scratch, even quick apps, websites, presentations, and so on. So I think Claude Code is a really, really powerful tool, especially if you start using Claude skills and Claude plugins and enhance its capabilities or teach it your own processes. However, it is a little bit technical to set up safely because when you set it up, you will need terminal, you will need an IDE like VS Code or Cursor. And then I also encourage you to use Docker or any tool that allows you to create a dev container. So that way you can limit Claude Code to only operate within that folder as a workspace and it does not see anything else on your computer. You can set up a strict firewall on what can come in and what can go out. So you can really secure it, but it is a slightly technical setup. Claude Cowork, on the other hand, is Claude Code packaged into a software that is more accessible for knowledge work. So I'm going to put Claude Cowork into A tier. I am thinking about putting it into S tier, but Claude Code is a lot more powerful than Claude Cowork. I found Cowork to be a little bit rigid and restrictive on the stuff that I can do, which for non-technical people, it's totally fine. And A tier means it's a great tool. S tier means it's like godlike, amazing tool. And I think I should reserve that for the better version of the two. So yeah, Claude Cowork will stay in A tier. It has this containment thing already built in. So when you open Cowork, you can select a folder and then it can only do things inside that folder and nothing else. You can still use skills, plugins, and so on. I tend to use all three. So I use Claude Chat, I use Claude Cowork, especially when I want to work side by side with like a presentation. So I want to open a document and see what's going on, writing contracts, analyzing spreadsheets, and so on. These kinds of stuff I use Cowork for. And when I start using things that require other tools, like I want to do stuff in my Notion, for example, with AI, I always go into Claude Code. Or if I want to build bigger projects, I'm working on a bunch of side projects now that I've fallen into this rabbit hole of Claude Code. It is very powerful. What I found is it works a little bit more reliably than Cowork. And by that, I mean it gets less errors. It runs a little bit better in terms of autonomy, but Cowork is also great. It can also correct its own mistakes. They are roughly the same thing because Cowork is just a Claude Code wrapper, but is a little bit more limited. And the last one I have here is Notion. And with this one, I'm not thinking specifically Notion, but I'm thinking Notion AI, and I'm thinking the Notion custom agents. I'm not a big fan of how Notion actually executed that, especially now with their custom agents being highly expensive to run. And I have all kinds of AI in my business. I don't use the Notion AI. I'm still on the $12 basic Notion plan, and I'm not going to upgrade just because they launched a bunch of custom agents or Notion AI. I can do everything that I want in Notion with Claude Code, and probably a lot more than with custom agents. If you have a bigger team who is really already well versed in Notion and they live inside Notion everything, I encourage you to give it a try. As a solopreneur, for me, just for chatting with my databases and making new entries and creating new databases, as I already pay for Claude Code, I don't see a use for this. And I also want to use Notion AI as an analogy to all of the other AI add-ons that you will see. Slack AI, ClickUp AI, all of these tools now have added AI, which is just a wrapper for having the best GPT or Claude model that you can talk to in an integrated way. So you don't need to go to ChatGPT and come back, but you also lose a lot of control. With that, I'm going to cut them some slack and I'm going to put them into C tier. It is a great effort to see them integrating AI. I wish it didn't come with a double in most subscription costs. And especially if you have a team of more than 10 people and only 2 people want to use AI, you still need to upgrade your entire workspace to the more expensive AI assisted version. And probably at that size, you already have an IT person who works really well with Claude Code. So then they could also build these AI agents at a fraction of the cost. So what do I recommend for you to use as a solopreneur or a small business owner who is not technical? I recommend you start with Claude and chat with it and build your skills with capital S. So the Claude skills that are in there, figure out how you can use those for your workflows, teach them your workflows, and then share that with your team so everybody can operate it a better way. Then play around with Cowork and see how well it can create presentations for you, analyze your spreadsheets, and so on. Start working with your files. So I'll just move these around here. I also encourage you to get Wisprflow or something like that. You can find my links in the description, but beyond the referral commission, I'm not getting paid anything to do any of this AI tier list. This is exactly how I use AI, and all of these tools that I have tried, I am or was actively paying for them. Once you have that, I think that's also gonna increase how well you can use AI. Then I would recommend you look into how you can make your standard workflows better. So Make, N8N, or Zapier. I recommend you pick Make. If that's not your jam, then go with N8N or Zapier. I'll leave that to you. I trust that you can make a good decision. Then have one AI that can come to your meetings and transcribe everything. My choice is Sembly. Feel free to pick your own poison. And then kind of just ignore the rest. And once you find tools, this is maybe the biggest one. Once you find a tool that already works really well for you, that it works good enough for you, don't switch between Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini just because they came out with a new model, because 2 months later, the competitor will also come out with a new model, and then you just have to switch back and forth. And that's really tiring and stressful. So once you find a solution that's good enough for you and you have no reason to switch, don't even try. Don't even let these AI influencers and these hypers tell you that, oh, you need to play around with this. Look at your business. What are the things that you need to get done on this month, this week? Are the tools that you're using, are they good for that? Most of the AI demo videos you will find on YouTube work amazing in a demo, and they are 10 times as more difficult to set up reliably. So once you have something that works well for you and you like using it, don't change, because that is a big mental cost in and of itself. I know a lot of people will not agree with this tier list that I just put together here. So if you don't, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll be reading them and I'll be responding. This is my opinionated tier list on using AI right now as of 2026, March 13th. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. And I'm glad you watched this video the entire way. If you need more support with integrating AI into your business and you're not a technical business owner, just check out our Paladin Guild community, where I have courses on how to integrate AI into your business, including a full Cowork course. I have a bunch of AI templates and skills you can plug and play and use, and you have access to me in the DMs, so you can directly send me questions either in the DMs or in a post in the community, and I will get back to you. So that's my business model. This was the sponsorship. Or if you're not ready yet, just watch this next recommended video, and I'll see you there. Bye-bye.